just like this.
I'm Jessica Dupart. A lot of people know me as Judy. I am the owner of Kaleidoscope Hair Products. To date, the company's probably made close to $40 million. Also birthed Kaleidoscope Realty, Kaleidoscope Management, Kaleidoscope Cares, Kaleidoscope Shipping and Receiving.
Well, you may have seen me out, but I would never put myself in a position to get hurt or be caught. I would never hold hands or do anything improper in public. So everything I did personally was private. I made sure of that. I won't send a naked picture, a naked video, anything, because it may possibly get out, and I didn't want to take that chance back then. Now, who cares?
The moment Brat stepped into the studio, the energy shifted. Usually, she was the one who carried the room with her charisma, her confidence, and her undeniable presence. But this time, there was something different. Her composure, the armor she had worn for so many years, seemed to have cracks. The lights highlighted not her strength, but the exhaustion she carried deep within her eyes. She wasn't here just to talk about music, or to entertain, or to flash that playful smile fans adored. Today, she was here to reveal something that had been eating away at her soul, something she had tried to bury but could no longer contain. For the first time, Brat was letting the world see the truth about her heartbreaking divorce from Judy. The breakdown that followed wasn't staged, nor was it meant for headlines. It wasn't for clicks, ratings, or viral attention. It was a raw, unfiltered moment of release. As she sat in front of the cameras, tears streaming down her face, the world witnessed something rare. A woman who had been seen as unshakable was suddenly vulnerable. For years, fans had celebrated her as strong, resilient, and even unbreakable. But on this day, that image dissolved before millions of viewers as Brat admitted she had been blindsided by the one person she thought she could trust most. In a trembling voice, she whispered words that echoed far beyond the studio walls. "I never thought it would come to this. But sometimes, love just isn't enough." The weight of those words lingered in the air. The audience could feel her pain. It wasn't a cry for pity, it was a cry for release. Brat had carried her heartbreak in silence for too long, and now, in this moment, she was laying it bare for the world to see. She choked back tears, her voice breaking as she continued. "I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to think she could betray me like this. But when I saw the truth, I knew it was over. There was no going back." With those words, Brat exposed not only the collapse of a relationship, but also the complete shattering of trust. It was an admission of heartbreak, but also of strength, the courage to finally walk away. To the outside world, Brat and Judy had seemed untouchable. They were admired as a power couple, celebrated for their bond and their love. On social media, they presented a picture-perfect love story to women defying the odds, overcoming obstacles, and finding joy in each other. Fans adored their chemistry, their laughter, and the way they seemed to complement one another in every way. But behind closed doors, Brat knew that things weren't as ideal as they appeared. What began as an inspiring love story slowly turned into a painful unraveling. The emotional distance between them hadn't appeared overnight. It crept in quietly, over months and years, until it became impossible to ignore. At first, Brat told herself it was just a rough patch, that every relationship had its struggles. She convinced herself that the woman she loved would come back to her, that things would return to the way they had been. But deep down, she sensed a shift. Judy, once her biggest cheerleader, began to pull away. What had once been admiration turned into resentment. What had once been support turned into bitterness. Brat remembered the countless times she came home excited, her heart full of joy from a career milestone, only to be met with indifference or worse, jealousy. "I could see it in her eyes," she admitted. "It wasn't about us anymore. It was about me succeeding, and her not being able to handle it." The partnership she had believed was built on love and respect began to reveal itself as toxic. Instead of celebrating Brat's growth, Judy seemed threatened by it. Instead of standing by her side, she seemed to shrink away, unable or unwilling to embrace Brat's success. "I wanted to share everything with her," Brat said, her voice heavy with grief, "but it felt like she couldn't stand to see me win, and that hurt more than anything." That realization that the woman she loved could not handle her rising star marked the beginning of the end. It wasn't that the love had disappeared. It was that the foundation of their relationship had been compromised. What is love? Brat asked herself. if it cannot withstand growth. When she finally made the decision to walk away, it wasn't out of anger or revenge. It was out of necessity. I needed someone who could stand by me, celebrate my wins, and support my dreams, she confessed. But instead, she was met with constant belittling, dismissals, and emotional distance. The weight of Judy's insecurity chipped away at her spirit. No matter what she did, it was never enough. It started to feel like I wasn't enough, Brat shared through tears. No matter how hard I worked, no matter how much I gave, it still wasn't good enough for her. And that's a heavy feeling to carry in a relationship. The tipping point came one night after Brat achieved a major professional victory. Bursting with excitement, she walked into their home ready to share the good news. Instead of joy or pride, she was met with silence and distance. That was the moment she knew. I had just accomplished something huge, and all I wanted was for her to be happy for me. But instead, she made me feel like I had to apologize for my success. That night, as she sat alone, reflecting on the love she had fought so hard to maintain, she made a choice. She would no longer sacrifice herself for someone who could not celebrate her. Walking away was the hardest thing she had ever done, but also the bravest. I had to choose me, she admitted. I had to choose my happiness and my future. The decision wasn't about spite, it was about reclaiming her worth. She knew she deserved a love that lifted her up, not one that tore her down. When the details of the breakup came to light, the public was stunned. For years, fans had idealized Brat and Judy as the embodiment of true love. They had been symbols of resilience, partners who had faced challenges and overcome them together. But the reality Brat revealed shattered that illusion. Fans flooded social media with messages of disbelief, heartbreak, and unwavering support. One fan tweeted, "I can't believe she had to go through that," echoing the sentiment of thousands. Another wrote, "She deserves someone who will lift her up, not tear her down." The response wasn't just sympathy, it was outrage. Many expressed disappointment in Judy, questioning how someone who claimed to love could fail to be their partner's biggest cheerleader. Judy should have been her rock, one fan wrote bluntly. The betrayal felt personal to those who had rooted for their love story, and it sparked a larger conversation about relationships, success, and the role of support in love. Brat's story became more than a celebrity breakup, it became a mirror for countless people navigating similar struggles. It highlighted the uncomfortable truth that sometimes love alone isn't enough to sustain a relationship. Success can bring joy, but it can also bring challenges. For some, a partner's growth feels like a threat rather than an inspiration. Brat's revelation forced fans to confront their own relationships, asking themselves whether their partners celebrated their victories or resented them. But for Brat, the aftermath was not just about heartbreak, it was about healing. "I'm finding peace," she said softly. "It's hard, but I know I'm doing what's best for me." She began focusing on herself, rediscovering who she was outside of the relationship. For too long, she had dimmed her own light to make someone else comfortable. Now, she was determined never to do that again. "I'm stronger than I've ever been," she said with a newfound confidence. "And I'm ready for whatever comes next." Her journey wasn't just about surviving a breakup. It was about reclaiming her power, learning to stand tall again, and reminding herself and the world that the most important love is the love you have for yourself. Love is hard, Brat admitted, but the most important love is self-love. And I'm learning that every single day. As she moves forward, Brat isn't just closing the chapter on her relationship with Judy. She is stepping into a new era of her life, an era defined not by heartbreak, but by resilience, growth, and self-worth. With her eyes shining with determination, she declared, "I'm ready to take on whatever life throws at me. This is just the beginning."